Okay. So this is our session number 4 of our ongoing RHCSA English Weekends training. And in this session, we are going to cover up these topics. We will start the session with control operators. After that, we will talk about the shell variables. After that, I will cover up shell embedding and options. After completing it, I will talk about the shell history, and at the end of the session, we will talk about the file globing. So these 5 topics we are going to cover up in today's session. I will request you, if you have not watched or if you have not practiced the previous session, please do it before going through this one, because many concepts would be based on the previous session only. Okay, so I'm going to start the session now. I will start the session with control operators. So what are control operators? Why do we use them? And what are the different types? We will cover up each and everything. Control operators are important when we want to execute multiple commands. Suppose I want to execute multiple commands simultaneously. So for that purpose, for different conditions, we can use the control operators. How? Let me show you. Suppose I want to execute the date command and I want to execute the lsblk command. So I am executing the commands one after other. But what happens if I want to execute them simultaneously? Like I want to execute date, then I want to execute lsblk. After that, I want to execute some other command like you can say time, date, ctl, then pwd. So what can I do? I can execute these commands like this. I can separate them by using this semicolon. What is the meaning of this semicolon? It will help me to execute multiple commands in one go. You can put 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 n number of commands on the command line separated by the semicolon, and it will allow you to execute them in one go. But how the commands are executing here? Commands are executing in the same order as they were mentioned on the prompt. First, we mentioned the date command, so we are getting the output of date command first. After the date command, we put lsblk. So the lsblk output is mentioned after the output of the date command. In the similar fashion, then we are getting the output of time date ctl, and at the end we are getting the output of pwd. So semicolon is allowing us to execute the commands in one go, but it is actually allowing us to execute the commands serially, one after other. What happens if some of the command is incorrect? Let me show you. Suppose the first command is incorrect. So what will happen? It will show an error for the first command and it will move on the second command. It means it will not check whether the command is correct or not. If command is correct, it will give the output on the terminal. If it is incorrect, it will simply throw an error and it will move on the next command. So semicolon is the option which allows us to execute the multiple commands in one go, but the commands are getting executed in the same order as they were mentioned on the terminal or on the shell prompt. Let me show you with some more examples. Let me write here hello. I want to print hello on screen. So I will simply use echo command, echo hello. I want to use semicolon and I want to split. I want to execute multiple commands. I want to print hello world, but I want to execute it in 2 parts. So what I will do, I will use echo hello semicolon echo world. So hello will be printed on the first line and world will be printed on the second line. So this command is getting executed first, and after that it is executing the second command. So it is just like a command separator, semicolon. And the commands are getting executed serially, one after other. Now so you can say that the first operator is semicolon. Semicolon operator we use to execute the commands serially, one after other. Now we will move towards the second control operator, which is ampersand sign. This one. Ampersand is also used to execute multiple commands, but it is different than the semicolon. How? Let me show you. You know that if I want to put my cursor in the sleep mode, suppose I want the terminal to wait for 10 seconds, I will write here sleep 10. So for the next 10 seconds, I won't be able to execute the command because it will wait for the 10 seconds to complete this shell command which I mentioned. In the similar fashion, if I want to put it for 120 seconds, I will write here sleep 120. So for the next 2 minutes, it will not allow me to execute any command. It will remain idle. What ampersand will do, if you will put the ampersand sign after any command, it will put the first command in the background and it will move on. Let me show you. Let me write here sleep 30 and I will write here ampersand and enter. So sleep 30 will be executed in the background and it will move on the next command. It will give us the prompt back so that we can execute other commands. So ampersand put the command in the background so that we can move on the next command and we can execute the other commands. Let me show you. Let me write here date. Command is executed and it is waiting for 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, it will allow us to execute the commands. Like this. So date command is also executed and sleep command is also executed. In the same way, we can reverse the order as well if we want, like sleep 20 and date. So it will put the first sleep 20 in background and it will execute the date command. Immediately it will give the prompt back to us so that we can use it. After that, the next operator is $?. $? We use to check whether the execution of the previous command was correct or not. Actually, this question mark is a variable. This question mark is a variable. And what it contains? It contains the value according to the execution of the previous command. So its value depends on the execution of the previous command. If 0 is there, it means command executed successfully. Or if some other value is there, it means command was not executed successfully. Sometimes it will print 127 or some other number. So if this question mark holds the value of 0, it means the last command was executed successfully. Let me show you. Let me execute the date command. Command is executed successfully. We are getting the output as well. If we want to check whether the execution of the previous command was successful or not, we can execute echo $? And it will give us 0. It means the last command was executed successfully. In many cases, sometimes if we are not able to see the output of the command on the terminal and we want to ensure whether the command was executed successfully or not, in those cases we can use it. Now let me execute some incorrect commands. So this is not a command in Linux. It is throwing the error. Now let's check whether the command was executed successfully or not. So the command was not executed successfully. If it is not showing 0, it means the execution was not successful, and it is showing 127 instead of 0. So this can be used to check whether the command was executed successfully or not. After that, the next control operator is double ampersand. Double ampersand stands for logical AND operation. What is logical AND? Many of you might be aware of the logic gates. You might have studied the logic gates in your BTech or PCA degrees. Logical AND, what it does, it will only perform the operation if all the conditions are true. Means if both the conditions are true, only in that case it will show us the output. Means both or all the conditions must be true. Only then it will execute the command, otherwise it will not. Let me show you. So let's use one example. Okay, let me show you. Let me write here echo first. After that I will put double ampersand sign, echo second. This command is correct, so it will execute this command first and it will print first on the screen. After that it will move on the second command and it should print second. So it will give us the output first and second. And why it is printing? Because both the commands are correct, and if all the conditions are true, only in that case it will give the output. In the same way, let me execute an incorrect command first. So this is not a command. Let me write here Zeco instead of echo. So this will throw an error. Now, since the first condition was not true, the command was not present in the system. This is an incorrect command. So it is not executing the second command as well. It is not moving on the second command. It will only go on the second command if the first command is true. If the first condition is true, then it will check the second condition or second command. Let me show you again. This time I will put Zeco in the second text. So it is executing the first command, but it is not executing the second command. Why? Because second command is incorrect. What happens if there are more commands after this? So it will not execute all those commands which are mentioned after an incorrect command. Only if the condition is true, only in that case it will execute the command. So it is just like a conditional task. If the command is true, then give the output, then move on the second command. Otherwise, do not go on the second or third or next commands. Next is logical OR, and we can represent it by double vertical bars. In logical OR operations, either of the conditions should be true. In logical AND, all the conditions must be true, but in logical OR, if either of the condition is true, it will execute the command. Let me show you. Let me write here echo first, double vertical bars, echo second. So it will only print the first one. It will not check the second one because the execution of the first command has already taken place. So it will not move on the second one. So it will check either of the conditions. If this is true, then don't go on the second one. If first is incorrect, then go on the second one, third one, and so on. Now let me mention the incorrect command first. So this command is incorrect. It is throwing the error for this, but in that case it is executing the second command. In the same way, if the second command is incorrect, it will not check for the second command because the first command has already executed. In the same way, if there are some more commands like this, it will not check for those commands since the first command is already executed. If the first command is incorrect, in that case it will move to the second one, third one, and so on. So first command is incorrect, it is not giving the output, it is throwing the error. Similarly for the second command, but third command is correct, so it will print the output for the third command. Now we can combine these operators, like we can combine double ampersand with double vertical bar. So what type of operation it should be? It creates the if then else structure. How? Let me show you with an example. Let me create a file first. I'm going to create a file with the name as file1. File is created. Now I will use if then else structure with the help of these control operators. So I want to remove this file by using the rm command. I will write here rm file1 ampersand, double ampersand, echo it worked. If the first command is executed successfully, if it removes the file, it should print it worked on screen. So if this command executes successfully, it will print the output it worked. In case if the file is not present there, or if there is some error, then it should not mention this it worked on the screen. Instead of this entire command, it should print echo it failed. So we have created a condition. Condition is file1. If file exists in the system, rm command will delete the file, and if rm command executes successfully, it will give us the output as it worked. In case if this command gets failed, in that case it will not check the second command because we are using the double ampersand sign here. So this entire command will not execute, and in that case it will simply jump on the second command and it will print it failed. Since file is already present, so rm command will delete the file. So in this case it should print it worked. Now the file is already removed. There is no such file. So if I will execute the command again, this time rm command will get failed, and because of that this entire command will not execute. So it will simply jump on the second one and it will print it failed. Have a look at this. So we can use these control operators in combination as well. Now the next one is pound sign. This pound sign or hash sign is nothing but a symbol which represents that the user is the super user or root user. But there is one more significance. If you will use it before any command, like I want to execute the date command, but I don't want to actually execute it, I just want to print it. So I can put hash, as I was doing in the last session and this session also. So whatever you will mention after this pound sign, that command or that argument will be completely ignored by the shell. So So it is not executing any of these commands, because if we write anything after this pound sign, that string, that command, that argument will be completely ignored. And same, it can be used in the files also. In scripting we use it. When we create the scripts, we write the programs, but for our understanding we use it as a commented line. Commented lines are for our understanding, like what will be the operation, how this script will work. So we can write anything after this pound sign. So that will remain in the file, but that will not be executed by the shell. So pound sign can be used to ignore the command or the argument. So it can be used as a commented line in files or on the shell. Now we will talk about the escaping characters. As I mentioned earlier, there are multiple control operators, like we can use ampersand, we can use semicolon, we can use double ampersand, we can use double vertical bars, we can use dollar question mark, we can use the pound sign. So there are multiple control operators which we can use according to our requirements. In some cases we want to print them, we don't want to actually use them. Let's take an example. Let me write here echo hello and I want to print hello world like this. I want to print it as it is, but if I will execute the command like this, what the shell will understand? Shell will understand that these two are two different commands. This will be treated as the first command, and whatever we will mention after the semicolon sign, that will be treated as the second command. But actually what we were trying to do, we were trying to print it in the same way, including this semicolon sign. So how can we do that? Can we use single quotes? Yes, we can use. Can we use double quotes? We can use. There is one more option as well which we can use. We can use backslash also. So what this backslash will do, this will allow us to print this semicolon sign as it is. So the actual operation of this semicolon sign will not take place. It will not split it into two parts. So backslash can be used if we want to ignore the operation of the control operator. In the similar fashion, backslash can also be used to split the line into multiple parts. Let me show you. Let me write here this line is, now I want to print, I want to write in the next line, not in this line. So I will put the backslash and go in the next line. Split into multiple parts. Now if I will press enter, all these three lines will be executed. So this backslash can also be used to split a single command into multiple lines. So there are multiple uses of the escaping special characters. So backslash is used for that purpose. Now you have to go on the page number 140 of the Linux Fun PDF, which I will provide you, and you need to go through these 9 questions which are given on this page along with their solutions. Try to solve these questions at your own without taking the help, but in case if you are not able to solve the question, you can go through the solutions also. Okay. Now let's move towards the next topic, which is shell variables.
Sir, when you will provide the PDF?
I have already shared the PDF. I will talk to you at the end of the session. Please kindly mute this microphone. I have already shared the PDF with you on the Google Drive. I'm sharing the PDF session wise. For the session number 3, I have already shared the PDF. For this session number 4, I will upload the PDF by today. Now we will talk about the shell variables. So what is the meaning of this variable? Variable means something which is not constant, not static, or not fixed. Means whose value can be changed. In Linux, we use two types of variables: system defined variables and user defined variables. System defined variables are those variables which are set by the developer who wrote the code. User defined variables are those variables which are defined by the user or by us who is using the system. Now let me show you. In order to print the value of any variable, we use echo command. Echo, after that we mention dollar, and then we can mention the name of the variable. Have a look at this. This host name is a variable, and the value of this host name variable is localhost. So this echo dollar can be used to check or to print the value which is there in the variable. As I mentioned earlier, there are two categories of the variables in Linux: system defined variables and user defined variables. So the variables which are there in capital letters, these are the system defined variables which are set by the developer itself. We have not defined these variables. These are already present in the machine. So these are set by the developer only. Are you getting the point? And generally 99.99% cases, these will be in the capital letters only. So all the system defined variables will be in the capital letters. You can easily understand whether it is the system defined variable or it is the user defined variable. So all these are the system defined variables. What are the user defined variables then? User defined variables are those variables which are set by the user. Like I want to set a variable, like I have defined the variable var is equal to 20. Now I want to print the value of this var variable. I can write here echo $var. So 20 will be printed on the screen. In the same way, let me check whether the variable is set or not. var1. So this is an unbound variable. This variable is not defined yet. Now let me define it. var1 is equal to 1000. And now let me again execute echo $var1. So this time it will print 1000. So we are defining the variables here. It means these variables are the user defined variables. And these are temporary. If we will log out from the shell and re-log in back, we won't be able to see the values again, which we set already. Let me show you. We are not able to see the values which were set by us last time. But in case of the system defined variables, we are able to print the values because these variables are defined by the developer and these are the permanent variables which are present in the system. So how can you make the variable permanent? To make a variable permanent, you have to make an entry in the profile files. You can put it in the basrc file. Let me write the variable name as Vikas and I will mention here 500. So I have defined the variable in the profile file. Now let me print its value. it will not show us anything because it is there in the file and file is not sourced yet. Either we have to log out and relog in back, or we can source the file. Source means we are reading this file. We are loading the contents of the file in the shell. Now again execute echo $Vikas. This time it will print 500. This time it is permanent. If we will log out and relog in back, so shell will be loaded. Shell will load the variables from the basrc file, and we can see the value of this variable which was set by us. Variables are case sensitive. What is the meaning of this case sensitive variable? Let me define one more variable with the same name as Vikas, but this time we will be in the capital letters. Now let me show you the value of both these variables. Echo $Vikas is 500 and echo $Vikas where V is capital would be 200. So both these are being treated as the different variables, and it is because Linux is the case sensitive operating system. So variables are also case sensitive in Linux. In the same way, we can use the system defined variables also. Like I want to print here, my machine name is $host name. My machine name is localhost. Let me change my machine name. Hostname ctl set -hostname Vikas Nehra PC. So we have set the host name in our machine. Now let's check the value of this. It is showing us localhost. And let's log out and relog in back. You can see the host name here also on the shell prompt, and you can see it from the variable also. So these changes which we made, the host name, it was permanent. So system has made an entry against this variable when we executed the hostname ctl set -hostname command. Now how will you remove the variable? There are two options for you. Let me show you. There is a variable named as Vikas. It is the permanent variable. If you want to remove it permanently, you have to remove it from the basrc profile file, or you can comment it out. So I'm going to comment it out. You can have a look at this. I'm going to put the £. So this line will be ignored by the shell, but its value is already loaded in the shell, so it is showing us 500 there. What can we do? We can either execute the unset command, unset Vikas. So this variable will be removed. Let's source the file again. File is loaded, and again verify the variable value. It is the unset variable now because the line where we mentioned the value of this Vikas variable was completely ignored by the shell because we put the £. there. There is one more method of removing the variable. Let me set a variable here, where is equal to 1200. What can you do? You can write here where is equal to, and you can directly press enter. So this will also unset the variable or remove the variable. Either you can execute the unset command or you can do it like this. How will you display the list of the environment variables? How will you check what are the environment variables which are loaded in your shell? So you can use this set command. it will give you the details of all the variables which are present in your shell environment. So this command can be used. Okay, now we will talk about the shell prompt variables. This is very important. What do we call it? Prompt statement or PS variables. Only 5% of the people who are working as the Linux admin can tell you this thing. What are the PS variables or what are the prompt statement variables that we use in Linux? And their range starts from PS0 to PS4. PS0 is the variable, PS1 is there, PS2 is there, PS3 is there, PS4 is there. Each one is used for the different purposes. Now we will start it with PS0. Let's check the value of this PS0 variable. You can check by executing the echo $PS0 command. So it is showing us this as unbound variable. Unbound variable means its value is not set. Similarly, you can check for PS1. PS1 will show you the output like this. PS2 will show you the output like this. PS3 will show you the output like this. Again, PS3 is the unbound variable. PS4 will give you the output like this. So what is the meaning of these variables here on the shell? So these are the prompt statement variables. Means what type of shell prompt will be appeared when you will either execute the command or you will get the output, or if you want to execute a script or you want to do the shell expansion. So what would be the prompt of the shell that will be displayed on the terminal? So these variables are used for that purpose. Like, what is the role of this PS0 variable? Let me show you. PS0 is used for the output. PS1 is used for the shell prompt. What type of shell prompt would be there on the terminal? PS2 is the continuation interactive prompt. Like if you want to split the command into multiple parts, so what will be displayed on the screen? I will cover each and everything. You don't need to worry about it. PS3 is used in the shell scripting, and PS4 is used when a shell script is executed in the debug mode. Like if you want to do the shell expansion. Now let me show you. Let me use each and every one. So we will start with PS0. As I mentioned, PS0 is used for the output prompt. PS0 variable is used for the output prompt. When you execute a command, you get the output on the screen. But before the output, do you see any such shell prompt there? Answer is no. So this is the shell prompt which is displayed here on the screen, where we are putting the command or we mention the command which we want to execute. But when we execute the command, we don't see any such prompt on the output. Let me execute the date command. So before this date command, there is no shell prompt like this. This is the shell prompt now. But in the output line, there is no such shell prompt present. And why it is showing like this? Because PS0 is not set. It is the unbound variable. Now let me set this variable. Let me write here PS0 is equal to, and I will write here output like this. So we have set this PS0 variable. Now let me show you the value of this PS0. Now if we will execute a command, it will print output before the actual output of the command. You can have a look at this. It will help us to understand that this is the output line. Let me execute lsblk. It will show the output string there. In the same way, we can mention any other thing there in the PS0, like we can write here result. So result will pop up on the output. Let me execute some other command, pwd command. So this is the result. And if you want to make these changes permanent, you can make an entry in the profile file. But by default, we generally don't set this variable. So we have unset it again. Now we will talk about the PS1 variable. PS1 is for the shell prompt. These things which are getting displayed here on the terminal, these are appearing here because of PS1 variable. So PS1 actually holds the value like this. So what is the meaning of this? It is showing us that it will print the username first. After that, there will be the @ sign. After that, there will be the machine host name. Then it will show us the working directory location, and at the end, it will show us the type of the user account. So these things are getting displayed here with the help of this PS1 variable. Now let's change the value of this PS1. Let me write here the value as input. So shell prompt is gone. We can execute the commands like this. Can you see actual shell prompt there? No. We have removed the shell prompt variable which was set there. We have replaced it with a different one. How can we restore it? Simply unset this. But unsetting this will not allow you to make the changes. You have to log out and relog in back. Because the changes in the PS1 variable which we made were temporary. So PS0 is for the output, PS1 is for the shell prompt. Now let's take the example of the echo command where I splitted the line, this one. I execute this command into 3 parts. Now let me re-execute it. So this was the command which was executed in 3 steps. I splitted the line. So here PS2 variables comes into the picture. This PS2 variable holds the value which is used when we split the command into multiple parts. What will be displayed on the shell prompt if you want to execute a command into multiple parts? Let me write here this line. Now I will go on the next line like this. This line, wait a minute, echo, this line is split you can have a look at this into multiple parts. So I executed this echo command by splitting it into 3 parts. So in each line there is the greater than sign appearing. And why it is here? Because it is using this PS2 variable. If we will replace it with some other variable, let me write here colon, and let me execute the echo command again. Echo, this line is split into multiple parts. You can have a look at this. So it is for that purpose. Similarly, PS3 variable is used in shell scripts. Let me show you the value of this variable. Echo $ps3. So it is unset currently. Let me show you. Let me write a script. Let me write here shebang /bin/bash echo print the, or I can write here, please provide your name, or please write your name. Read name echo your name is $name. So I have written a simple shell script. Let me execute it. But before that, let me change the permissions. chmod +x. Now let's execute this script. It is asking me to write the name. I will write here Vikas Nehra. It will show the name. But it is not showing anything on the shell prompt during the execution of this script. And why it is happening? Because ps3 is unset variable. Now let's set the value. Let me write here the value as script prompt. Now let's re-execute the script. It is actually not working. Ideally it should give us the prompt here. ps3 okay, I will cover it later. I think there is some mistake. Let's go back to ps4 first. I will cover it. Give me 1 second. I will cover it at the end. Let's go to ps4 variable. So ps4 is used for the shell expansion. When we use set -x, so you can check plus sign is displayed on the screen. So this plus sign is present because of this ps4 variable. Let's change the value of this ps4 variable. Let me write here I'm going to write here delta. Now execute the date command. So in shell expansion it is used. The ps3 variable we use when we execute the script in the debug mode. Let me show you. ps3 is used by select loop inside a shell script. Okay, since we are not using the loop in our script, that's why it is not getting displayed here. ps3 I will show it in the shell scripting portion when we will use the loops, because if I will start teaching you what are the loops here, it will create a lot of confusion for you. So this variable we will cover up when we will start the shell scripting. I will show you this when we will use the loops in the shell scripts. So all these variables are the prompt statement variables which we can use in Linux. Now we will talk about the path variable. As I mentioned in the previous session, path variable is responsible for telling the system where to look for the binary files, from where to execute the commands. So this variable is very important, because if this variable is not set in your machine, it will be very difficult for you to execute the commands. Like I want to execute the passwd command. So system knows from where to execute this. System already knows the location of the binary file. In the similar fashion, if I execute the date command, system knows what is the location of this date command binary file. And how can we check the location? We can use the which command. So this is the actual location of the binary file. You can list this file also. So this file is nothing but a program which is there in the system so that we can execute the commands. So path variable is very important because with the help of this path variable, system knows the path of these binary files. It may be in your root home directory, it may be there in the bin, it may be in the S bin, USR local bin, USR S bin. So system looks in these directories for the binary programs. Let's change the value of this path variable. Let me write here Vikas. Now let's execute some commands. No command it will allow you to execute. It will keep throwing the error. Why? Because this time system is not able to find the binary files. System is actually not aware of the location of the binary files of these commands. And why did it happen? Because we changed the value of the path variable. Now let's log out and relog in back. Whenever we log in the shell, what happens? All the profile files are loaded. And if the files are loaded, it sets the variable again. Now we can execute the commands. Some variables are exported variables. So what are the exported variables? Exported variables are those variables which are exported from the other shells. Let me show you. Let me write here bash-c. Then I will write here echo $shell $home $user. It is giving us the output of this shell variable, home variable, and root variable. So it is printing the values of these variables. Bash-c means we are starting a child shell here. So in the child shell, we are able to get the values of these variables. Now if I want to clear these variables which are set in the cell, I can write here env-i. env-i will remove the variables which are loaded in the child shell. So it will give us the output only the shell command. Why it is not printing the values of these variables now? Because these were the exported variables and cell env-i has cleared these variables from the shell. I know it will create a lot of confusion. Now let's make it easier for you. As I mentioned earlier, there are multiple shells available in our Linux machines. What are those shells? Cat etc shells commands you can execute, or you can execute chshh. chshh-l. Currently we are having the bash shell and sh shell only. If we want, we can install the other shells also. Like I can install the other shells. Like I can execute dnf install -y ksh command. It will install the shell. If my repositories are working, I can execute this command and it will allow us to install the ksh package in our machine. But repository is not available on my machine and I want to install these shells. What can I do? Let me check whether the ISO image is available on this machine or not. Let me mount it to MNT directory. There is no image present. Let me attach the ISO image first. You don't need to worry about this. I will cover it when I will teach you the configuration of the local repository. This is the ISO image. I want to attach it. Now the ISO image is attached and I want to mount it on MNT directory. It is mounted now. Let me show you whether it is mounted or not. Yes, it is mounted on the MNT directory. Now let's go to this MNT directory. There, base OS and app stream. There are two different directories. We will go to the app stream directory. There we can find the packages. Let's go to this packages directory. There we can see the packages which we can install in our machine if we need them. There should be a package of ZSH. KSH package is there. Let's try to install this package. We have successfully installed the package of KSH. Now we have the KSH shell available in our machine. I just install a package in my machine. Have a look at this. Now KSH shell is installed and we can change the shell by running the KSH command. Now we are in a different shell. Now let me show you with an example. Let's set a variable first. Var 3 is equal to 3. Var 4 is equal to 4. Now I change the shell. But before that, let me print the values of these variables. Let me write here echo $var3. It is printing the result as 3. Echo $var4. It is printing the result as 4. Now let's start a child shell. I'm going to start the KSH shell here. And in this shell, let's check whether the variable is present or not. So none of these variables are present which we set on the previous shell or on the parent shell. Why? Because it is a different shell. It is a child shell which we started from the bash shell. But in case if we want to use these variables in the other shells also, what can we do? We can simply export the variables. How? We can simply mention their export and the variable name. So variable is exported. This variable we have exported by running the export command. Let's start the KSH shell and let's check if the variable is available in the shell now or not. So this variable is available now. So what this export command did, it exported the variable in all the available shells. Like if I start the sh shell here and here I execute the echo $var4 command, here also we can find this variable. In the same way, we can export the variable at the time of defining it. Like I can simply write here export var5 is equal to 5. So this var5 variable is set and it is exported as well at the same time. 5 is the result of this variable value. Let's start the KSH shell and let's check if the variable is available in the shell. Yes. So with the help of export command, we can export the variable from one shell to all the available shells which are present in our machine. We can also use the variables as delineate variables. How? Let me set a variable here, prefix, and the value is super. So I simply set a variable whose value is super. In case if I want to use it, how can I use it? Let me show you. Let me write here hello. Echo hello means I want to print the message. Echo hello, and after that I want to use this variable. I will write here dollar prefix. So it will print super. But if I want to print some other thing also, I want to print Superman. So it will not give any result because it is treating this string as a complete variable. So we have to define the system that in this string, I want to use only these characters as a variable, as the variable name. So we can enclose them with curly braces like this. This time it will print Superman. Or in the similar fashion, we can write here girl. Hello Superman and Supergirl. So these variables can also be used like this. Now I will talk about the unbound variable. The variable which is not set in the system, that variable is known as unbound variable. So this variable is not set. It is not printing anything on the screen. It means it is the unset variable. How can you set it? You can simply set it like this. Now this variable is not an unset variable if its value is available there in the system. In case if you want to print a message for the unbound variables, you can also do that. How? You can simply execute set-u. Set-u will enable you to give you the message for the unbound variables. Let me show you. If a variable is not set by you, or if the variable is not available in the machine, it will throw an error like this, unbound variable. So this feature is enabled by running set-u command. So we have enabled the option for the unbound variable in the shell, that for the unbound variables it should give an error like this. In case if we want to disable it, we can use set+u, and this time it will not print anything. For the unbound variables, if this option is enabled, it will throw the error like this. If this option is disabled, there will be the empty line. Actually, there are multiple options available in this shell. Let me show you. Echo $-. So these are the options which are enabled in my shell currently. I will cover it in the upcoming sessions. You don't need to worry about. If you want to check the options, you can execute set-o. Set-o will show you the name of the option and whether it is enabled or disabled. Cell in the cell environment, history is enabled, monitor is enabled, no clover is disabled. Similarly for the unbound variables. So these options, we can either enable them or disable them as per our own requirements. We will cover it in the upcoming sessions. You don't need to worry about these options. I'm just giving you the basic idea about these options. Now you need to visit the page number 149. There is an exercise given on this page for the shell variables, and there are total 10 questions. You're supposed to solve them at your own, and you can also go through the solutions if you need. Now let's move to the next topic, which is shell embedding. Shell embedding. Embedding means we are defining something inside other. Means a variable is defined under other variable, or we are running a program under other program. Let me show you with an example. Let's execute echo $var1. It is the unbound variable. No value is set. It is not printing anything on the screen. In case if I want to print the result, there should be some value which should be stored in this variable. But I don't want to store it permanently. I want to use it temporarily during the execution of the command only. So I can define the variable inside the command like this. I can define the variable here, var1 is equal to 50 colon echo $var1. Okay, I need to give a space here. So what we are doing, we are defining the variable in the same command where we want to print its value. So how the operation is taking place? The shell is actually splitting the command into multiple parts after scanning it, and it is executing this portion first, then this portion. As we set the value as 50, so it is printing the value there as 50. This is known as embedding. Let's take one more example here. I'm going to set the value of this A as shell. Now let's print the value using shell embedding. Let me write here $C. $C is not defined yet. B is also not defined yet. A we have defined. If we will execute the command like this, it will only print the output of this variable, because these two variables are not set currently. These are the unbound variables. So system is only able to print the value of this variable which is set. In the same way, if we want to print the values and we want to use shell embedding, we want to define them in the command itself, we can easily do that. Let me write here the value of B is sub. Then we can write here echo $C, $B, $A. Then echo dollar C is equal to sub echo $C, $B, $A. Now have a look at this. This A already contains the value as shell. So for this A, it will print shell. For B, it will print subshell. And for this C, it will print subshell. So what we are doing here, we are defining the variables inside the command. So this process is called as shell embedding. Let me give you the example of shell embedding using the backticks also. Suppose I want to print the details of the files which are present in some location, like in etc directory. So what I do, I go to the etc directory first, and after that I can execute the command like this. So whatever I want to print, I can mention that. I can mention the name of the files also. So if the file or directory is there, it will print the details. How can I use the backticks? Let me show you. This sign is called the backtick. we are going to etc directory, then we are executing ls-d command, and here we want to check for the files which are starting with pass, and we will close the backticks. So what is happening here? Echo will print the result which it will get from the execution of this command, which is enclosed by the backticks. So what we are doing, we are actually performing this operation here. We are going to the etc directory, and there we are executing this command. If you will execute this command, you will get the output as passwd and passwd hyphen. So from this command, we are getting these two outputs after going in the etc directory. So echo command is actually printing the result which is there after the execution of this command, which is enclosed by the backticks. So we don't need to manually go to the etc directory. We can execute this command from anywhere. This process is also used in shell, which is known as shell embedding. So this option is available because of shell embedding. You don't need to manually go to etc directory, and there you don't need to execute the command like this. You can simply use the echo command and you can print the result directly on the terminal. But you don't need to worry about this. It is not important from the exam's point of view also. You can simply use the ls command. Or what can you do? You can simply mention the entire path. You can directly run the command like this: ls-d etc. After that you can mention asterisk here, and you can grab whatever you want. It will give you the same output. It is just for your information that shell embedding can also be used like this. Okay. Now, whether the backtick is similar to the single quote or not, let's check. I'm using the backticks here. I'm defining a variable var1 is equal to 5, and I'm going to print the value of this var1. So it is printing the result of this command. 5 is printed on the screen. What happens if I use single quotes instead of backticks? Backtick will actually perform the operation and print the result. But if I use the single quotes, that line will get printed as it is. Instead of single quotes, if I use the double quotes, so it will print the result like this. So all three are doing the different work here. It is actually defining the variable and printing the result. It is printing the entire string as it is, and here it is printing the result of this variable and the echo command, which is mentioned under the double quotes. As I mentioned earlier, there are multiple options available in a shell, and if you want to print these options, if you want to check what are the options which are currently enabled in your shell, you can use echo $hyphen command. So this hyphen variable actually stores the value which shows what are the options which are enabled. There is an option available which is known as no clover. What is the role of this no clover? It is represented by C. Let me enable the no clover option. I can write here set minus capital C or set hyphen C. Set hyphen C will enable the no clover option in your shell, and you can check it by running the echo $hyphen command. This time it will show you a capital C there in the options. Capital C means no clover is set. If no clover is set, you cannot overwrite a file. As I shown you yesterday, we can easily create the files like this. Let me create a file by running the cat command. cal command, cal.txt. I have created a file here with the name as cal.txt. Now I want to put some more data in this file. Like I want to print the output of date command also there. So since we are only using the single greater than sign, so what it will do, it will override the contents. It will erase the previous data from the file. But we have enabled the no clobber option. It will not allow us to override the existing file. If we will use the double greater than sign, it will allow us. It will allow us to append the text in a file, but it will not allow us to override the contents of an existing file. And why it is happening? Because we have enabled the no clobber option. This C is there, or you can check it by running the set-o. Set-o will show you the status. No clobber is enabled. This one. Either you have to disable it or you have to override it. How will you override it? Let me show you. If you want to override the no clobber option, you have to use the pipe sign there. Like this. After this greater than sign. So you have to mention this pipe sign after the greater than sign, and it will allow us to override the contents, even if the no clobber is set. So no clobber can be overridden by using the pipe sign in the command. Now you are required to visit the page number 144. There is a practice exercise given, and there are 8 questions in total. You can practice these questions. Now let's proceed to the last topic of today's session, shell history. Whenever we execute the commands on the shell, by default they are stored in the shell history. You can have a look at this. I can execute the history command, and you can check I have already executed 247 commands in this 1 hour. In last 1 hour, I have executed 247 commands, and each command is mentioned against a number. This number represents how many such commands you have executed. They are currently stored on my shell, but if I will log out, they will go to the bash history file. What is the location of the history file? This is the location of this history file. This bash history contains the commands which we have executed up to the last session. If I will log out and re-log in back, so the commands which I executed in the previous session, they will be stored there in this file. There are total 251 commands, and these commands are actually stored in this bash underscore history file. This file is responsible for the shell history. Now there are multiple uses of the shell history. How can we actually repeat the commands? You can execute the history command. It will show you all the commands with their numbers. Suppose I want to repeat any of these commands, like I want to repeat this one, or I want to repeat some other command, like let me go back to this one, 126. I want to repeat this command. What can I do? I can mention here bang sign and the command number 126. So automatically I can repeat the command easily. You can repeat the previous command by double bang sign. Like I have executed the date command. I want to repeat it. I can simply use double bang and enter. So double bang can be used to repeat the last command, and for the nth command I can execute bang sign with the command number. I can do one more thing also. After the bang sign, I can mention few words or few characters. Those will help me to execute that particular command. Suppose I want to execute this date command, I will write here bang and I will mention here DA and press enter. So it will automatically check the command and it will execute the same. Similarly, suppose I want to execute the hostname command. I will write here host and press enter. So it will execute that command. You can also search the commands which you want to execute. You can press Ctrl and R, and in the reverse search you can mention the command name like this. You can use Ctrl and R. You can write here the command like this. So you can do the reverse search and you can execute the commands by pressing Ctrl and R on your keyboard. There is a variable with the name as hist size. This variable is actually responsible for the number of commands that you can keep in your shell history. So my shell history will only support up to 1000 last commands. So the commands which I have executed on this machine, they will be stored up to the number 1000. After 1001, it will erase the previous command. It will keep doing that. It will only store the 1000 commands in the shell history. Older commands will be removed and the newer commands will be getting saved. So hist size is important. By default, its value is 1000, but if you want to change it, you can change it as well. Like I want to make it 5000. I can easily do that. And if you want to make it permanent, make an entry in the profile file. There is one more variable which tells the location of the history file. As I shown you that bash history is there, which contains the commands which you have executed on the terminal or on the shell. So this variable tells the system the location where to store these commands. So the use of this variable is for the shell history. There is one more variable in Linux with the name as hist file size. Hist file size sets the limit of the size of the file where you want to keep the commands. Like how many commands can be stored in this file, bash history file. So bash history currently supporting only up to 1000 commands. If you want to increase the number, simply change the value of this hist file size variable. Make it 5000, 10,000. So it will work. To make it permanent, just make an entry in the profile files. Let me create a file with the name as file1. Let me show you the contents. Calendar is there. You can also use regular expressions as well in shell history. Suppose I want to execute the previous command, but in a different way. So I will write here, I can write here cat. So it will automatically execute the previous command. But if I want to use the regular expression, I can do that as well. How can I do it? Let me show you. I can write here capital bank C, and I will change 1 by 2. So there is no such file present. If the cat file2 is there, it will open the file. Now let me create a file here with the name as file2. Here the substitution get failed. Let me make it easy because I think you are not getting it. Let me remove file1 from here first. There is a file with the name as file2. It is having the calendar, and I have executed cat file1 command. I know file1 is deleted, it will not print anything, but I want to open cat file2 by using this command, cat file1. So how can I do that? I can do it with the help of the regular expressions. Let me write here bang C, and here I want to replace 1 by 2. So what command it is actually executing? It is executing cat file2 by running cat file1 command. Look at this. What are regular expressions? We will talk in the upcoming sessions. So don't worry if you are not able to understand this. I will cover it in the upcoming sessions. Now you can go to page number 160. There is a practice exercise given on this page, and there are total 9 questions. Please try these questions at your own, and you can also take the help from the solutions. In the next session, we will start file globing because I don't want to create a lot of confusion for you. I wanted to complete it by today, but I think it is too much. Now you can raise your hands and you can ask your questions. We will cover up the file globing topic in the next session. अगर आपको कुछ पूछना है अब आप मुझसे पूछ लो, जिसको भी जो भी डाउट्स हैं. Yes, Bhupendra, please go ahead.
So you were talking about the Linux one book where you're every time you're mentioning to do the practice. So I mean, I'm not sure like whether you have shared that PDF of Linux book or not. Yeah.
Did you check the group description?
No, I just checked the drive actually.
I mentioned it many times.
Okay.
Please check the group description. Please check the group description. I mentioned many times. You need to go here.
Okay.
This is the drive link. I put it in the chat also. This is the link for the study material. Go there. All the last 3 sessions PDFs or the study materials are available there. Already shared with all of you. All of you are having the access on this. Did you check it? No.
I just went through the playlist only. Sorry, on the playlist. Okay. Sorry.
You don't even check the messages in the chat, in the group chat.
I do, but not too much frequently actually. Yeah.
You should, because there everything is important. It will only clear your doubts, because if someone will ask the questions, it will clear the doubt for others also.
Yeah, sure.
That is the purpose of this group. Otherwise, I could have used the Google group or some other platform. Yes, Ajay, please ask your question. Mr. Ajay. Derek.
Hi. I had a question about the study material as well. I, I have access to it on Google Drive, but you mentioned page 140, and am I on the Linux Fund PDF? It only goes up to page 35. Are you going to upload it?
Yes, today's session I will upload.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Last 3 sessions are already uploaded there. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Ajay, are you there?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, my question is that can you explain the HSTR command, please?
Which command?
HSTR.
Which command? Can you please put it in the chat?
Yeah, I already put in the chat. HSTR.
It is not available on my machine. Where did you get this command?
That is in Ubuntu machine. So I have we have
Sorry.
to.
I am not giving the training on Ubuntu.
Okay, it's okay.
If we
But
actually
this.
commands, there are different commands which depends on the different
Uh-huh.
packages and different purposes. Okay.
Okay.
So if
Mhm.
you want to know about this command, there must be a package which should be installed in your machine.
Okay.
This may be related to some specific program. I have no idea about it.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll check.
And please keep your questions related to the current session only.
Okay, fine.
Because yes. Next is, you can raise your hands. Vasudev, please.
Yeah, hi sir. Actually,
Hi.
I have one query regarding bash underscore history file. Actually, we can assume like Vikas Nehra PC is there actually, and that server we have logged in so many users actually. I want to know which user have used different commands, right? At
I
that
think
time,
you were there. You were not there in the last session.
no, I already I watched that session, but regarding
You are
regarding some doubt,
your
yeah,
question is, you want to check what are the commands that are executed by a certain user.
yeah.
You want to check it.
Yeah, we can able to see, sir, under bash underscore history file.
Yes, bash history you can use. You can go to
Okay.
the home directory of that particular user and you can check the history file.
Okay, first we have to log in that user, right? Then only we can able to find that,
You
right?
have to switch in the account of that particular user, and for that you must have the root privilege.
Okay, okay, okay. If you want to see the other users, what they are user commands, right? First we have to have the root privileges, right? Actually,
Yes. Now you can check there is no history file present for the Vikas Nehra user. He has already erased the file. So
okay,
if the user is smart, he can delete the file also.
okay,
You can only get it if you have the root access, and you need to go to that particular account, and you need to go to the home directory and you can check the file if
okay, okay.
he has not
We
made the
want,
changes there.
if we need to check other users, right? First we have to sudo privileges, right?
Yes,
No, we can.
sudo or root.
Okay, okay, sure, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Mohammed.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Yeah, sir, regarding this, my question is KSH shell and bash shell. So both are different, right?
Yes.
So in bash shell, we have given the absolute path, it will work. But in KS shell, it will not work. Shall we need to export that
Yes.
library or what?
Yes. It is because many of the variables are not available there in the KSH shell or the other shells. So either you can execute the export command for all those variables which you want to use in the other shells. Okay, because these cells are by default not present in our machine. We have to install them separately or manually. So it may happen that many of the variables will be treated as the unbound variables there. So you need to use the export command.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Alok, please ask your questions.
Sir, I want to know that how I can add user. Uh, it, how I can add user.
It will it will be covered in the user management. You can use the user add command to add the user like this. Okay, but I will teach it in the upcoming sessions. Please don't worry about these topics. I will cover each and everything. Just move step by step. Whatever I am teaching you, cover that as that first. Once you are done, then you can move on the next topic.
Okay, sir.
Yes, Mr. Prashant. Sorry, your microphone is creating a too much noise. You can put it in chat. We are not able to understand anything.
Is it okay now, sir? Please?
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
I have been working since long time, but on the bash shell only. So when do we use these other shells?
It depends. It depends on certain projects, on the requirement, on the customer side also. Generally, we prefer the bash shell, but in some projects we still use the other shells like KSH, ZSH. But by default, bash shell we use in Linux, and same shell will be used by you when you will appear in the exam. We will only consider bash shell.
All right, thank you.
There are different shells with different facilities. You can explore the other shells also, like you can use KSH. There are multiple shells which work on Linux. SH is there, bash is there, KSH is there, TCSH is there, ZSH is there. Just install the package and explore these shells. But we are only focusing here on the bash shell, and by default this shell is provided to us by Red Hat. We still use other shells, like in some projects we use KSH, in some projects we can use ZSH. It depends on the requirement of the customer also.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Bharat.
Beginning, sir.
Yes.
Sir, my question is on the history topic. The question is, what is the difference between list size and list file size?
Okay, good question. Hist size is actually responsible for the commands which can be there in your shell history. So this is your shell history. Shell history is different from the history file. Both are different. Have a look at this. What is the last command here? cat.bash history. It is the last command here in this file. Now check the output of history command. Both are different. Actually, what happens when we log out of the shell? So the entire command history which was loaded on the shell, it gets copied to the history file. When we log in back and check the file, we can see all the commands which we executed on the shell last time. Now, can you see the changes? Can you spot the changes? Now history is added there, which was not present last time. So bash history is a profile file which contains all the commands, and commands which are there in the history gets copied into this file when the user log out of the shell. So this hist size is actually responsible for these commands which you want to keep in the shell history for this number. Like on 290th there is history command. We can only store up to 1000 commands here in this shell, or if you want to increase it, you can increase the number. Hist file size, the other variable, that is actually responsible for the number of commands that you can keep in the shell history file. Shell history file means this file. इन दोनों में ये बड़ा डिफरेंस है कि यहाँ जो ये कमांड्स आपको हिस्ट्री में दिख रही हैं इनका नंबर तो इस वाले वेरिएबल पर डिपेंड करेगा। और जो कमांड्स आपने रखी हैं, जो कमांड आपकी कॉपी होंगी उस हिस्ट्री फाइल के अंदर, वो नंबर कितना हो सकता है वो इस वेरिएबल पर डिपेंड करता है। समझ में आया?
ओके, थैंक यू। प्लीज सर।
और जब भी आप लॉग आउट करेंगे तो अब तक की जितनी भी कमांड्स आपने एग्जीक्यूट की हैं वो सारी जाके स्टोर हो जाएंगी इस फाइल के अंदर। लॉग आउट करने से पहले तक वो रहती हैं आपके रैम पर और शेल पर लोडेड। जब आप लॉग आउट कर देते हैं तो लॉग आउट होते ही वो सारी कॉपी हो जाती हैं इस हिस्ट्री फाइल के अंदर। ये डिफरेंस होता है। तो लॉग आउट होने पर ये फाइल एग्जीक्यूट होती है। समझ में आया?
जी सर, थैंक यू सो मच।
ओके। हाँ जी अजय जी, कुछ पूछना था?
Hi, sir.
हाँ जी।
Hello. I hope I'm audible, sir. Yes, sir. My question is that if we set a variable in the root user, okay, and the variable is
आपका
permanent user.
आपका माइक ठीक नहीं है।
Hello. आप भी आवाज आ रही है सर?
हाँ, बहुत ज़्यादा आपकी आवाज़ जो फट रही है। बताइए,
Okay, sir.
थोड़ा धीरे
Hello,
बोलिए।
sir. Yes, sir. हाँ sir. If we set a variable in the root user, so is that variable will be accessible to the other users?
मुझे क्वेश्चन ही समझ में नहीं आ रहा आपका। चैट में
I
डाल दो,
will, sir, I will post in chat.
चैट में डाल दीजिए। आई चेक इट इन द चैट। यासीन अली खान जी कह रहे हैं, हाय सर, बैश शेल में बैश स्क्रिप्टिंग इज सेम वर्ड और डिफरेंट? यस, shell scripting means the scripting which we are doing on the shell. Since we are using the bash shell, so we will call it bash shell scripting. Hardev Singh, did you register for this training? Mr. Hardev. Mr. Ajay is asking if we add a variable in the root user permanent, is it the variable accessible to local user? आप आई थिंक ये कहना चाह रहे हैं कि अगर मैं रूट यूज़र की प्रोफाइल फाइल में किसी वेरिएबल को परमानेंटली स्टोर करा दूं तो क्या वो दूसरे अदर यूज़र्स को एक्सेसिबल होगा? एम आई करेक्ट? नहीं, नहीं होगा। लेट मी टेल यू व्हाई। ईच home directory, whether it is for the root user or for the normal user, it contains the files separately. The profile files are separately present for all the users in the machine. If you will make an entry in the profile file for the root user, that variable or that what do we call it, the whatever you will mention here, number, variable, string, anything, that will work only for that particular user account for whom you made the entry in the file. So that is user specific. If you will do it for a normal user, it will work for the normal user account only, for that particular account. If you want to globally set a variable, if you want to do it for all the users, then you can use this file, etc profile. This file will work for all the users, or you can use profile.d should be there. Inside this you can create your own file that will also work for all the other users. So this file works for the all user accounts which are present in your machine. So it is used for setting the variables globally in your machine, while the profile files which are present in the home directories for the local user accounts, those will work for that particular specific user account only, not for the other users. समझ में आया?
हाँ सर।
सभी के लिए करना है तो ETC प्रोफाइल में करेंगे, किसी पर्टिकुलर एक यूजर के लिए करना है तो उसकी खुद की होम डायरेक्टरी में जो प्रोफाइल फाइल है उसमें जाके करेंगे।
ओके सर, यस। और सर सबके लिए अगर इफ वी हैव टू सेट द एनवायरनमेंट ऑफ वेरिएबल तो सेम फाइल वी हैव टू एडिट, राइट?
आप अपना माइक प्लीज माइक चेंज कीजिए, मुझे कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा आपका क्या कह रहे हो। दोबारा चैट में डालिए जो भी क्वेश्चन है। यस, Anyone else? वेरिएबल मैंने बताया तो आपको परमानेंटली करना है, ईटीसी प्रोफाइल में करेंगे। ईटीसी प्रोफाइल में सभी यूज़र्स के लिए काम करेगा, और बैस आरसी में करेंगे तो उस यूज़र के लिए करेगा जिसकी प्रोफाइल फाइल में किया है आपने। अभी इसको हम कवर करेंगे प्रोफाइल फाइल वाले सेक्शन में, आपको इसकी चिंता करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। अभी किसी ने एक कमेंट डाला था ना, हरदेव सिंह। हु इज़ हरदेव सिंह? आर यू देयर ऑन कॉल? हु इज़ दिस गाय? हरदेव। हाँ राजेश, पूछिए।
Sir, if I want to install any package, then how can I do this?
अभी मैंने पैकेज मैनेजमेंट आपको स्टार्ट नहीं किया
Yes.
है ना, तो वेट कर लो थोड़ा, पैकेज मैनेजमेंट स्टार्ट होने दो। मैं उसके लिए आपको सिखाऊंगा कि रेपोजिटरी कैसे बनानी है, रेपोजिटरी बनाने के का क्या यूज़ है, कैसे हम उससे कोई पैकेज इंस्टॉल कर सकते हैं। तो अभी वो चीज़ें हम कवर करेंगे, आप उसकी जल्दीबाजी मत करो, आराम से चलते रहो, ठीक है?
No, sir.
वी विल कवर इट इन द अपकमिंग डेज, डोंट वरी।
Thank you.
हरदेव जी, हरदेव सिंह कौन है? हु इज़ हरदेव? ठीक है। हाँ जी भारत जी, ऑलरेडी अपलोड कर दिया आपने। यार आप लोग ग्रुप नहीं चेक करते हो क्या? मैंने आपको दिखाया ना कि हमारा जो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप है उसमें जो डिस्क्रिप्शन दिया हुआ है उसमें हर चीज़ का लिंक अवेलेबल है। यूट्यूब का भी है। ऐसे कैसे कह रहे हो कि आपको मिला नहीं? इसमें आप जो है ना, तीनों चीज़ों का लिंक आपको मिल जाएगा। इसमें हमारा मीटिंग का इनविटेशन लिंक भी है, स्टडी मटेरियल का भी है, और वीडियो प्लेलिस्ट का भी है। देखो, जाओ वीडियो प्लेलिस्ट में। अब यहाँ दिखा रहा है हिडन, क्योंकि मुझे परमिशन नहीं है अपने अकाउंट से देखने की, लेकिन इसमें तीनों वीडियोज़ हैं, मैंने डाली हुई हैं। मैं दिखा देता हूँ आपको, रुको। लिंक कॉपी कर लेते हैं, यहाँ खोलते हैं दूसरे वाले ब्राउज़र में। देखो अब दिखेगा आपको, दिखा? पिछले तीनों सेशंस यहाँ अपलोड हो चुके हैं और आपका एक्सेस है उस पर। यू ऑलरेडी हैव द एक्सेस देयर। व्हाट इज़ योर आईडी? भारत पवार दिख रहा है ना? देखो, ऐसे कैसे कह रहे हो नहीं है? आपने चेक ही नहीं किया है, एटलीस्ट चेक तो करना चाहिए ना। ऑल द URLs I have mentioned there in the description of the group. Video link is there, study material link is there, and video playlist link is there. If you will click this video playlist link, it will automatically redirect you on the YouTube, and you can see all the last session recordings there. ठीक है, चलिए आज के सेशन में फिर इतना ही। नाउ वी विल मीट अप अगेन ऑन द नेक्स्ट Saturday at 8 p.m. IST. Thank you so much. Till then, bye bye, good night, take care.